Hello everybody, thank you for clicking on this video. This is Sean and this is my top 5 NFL stadiums video. I am back to sports. I took a little detour, took a little side quest, Had to talk about those Macy's balloons, but I plan to make a majority of sport related videos, but I'm going to be sprinkling in some other things, some other topics, some random things, video games and miscellaneous things that come to my mind. So be sure to check that out. Please let me know what kind of list you'd like to see because I am a man of the people and what the people want is what I will deliver. So today, like I said, top 5 current NFL stadiums. For context, I've only been to 4 stadiums in my life so far, and 2 of them are now either demolished or they're on track to be destroyed, demolished, blown up, who knows, in the coming years. So I say this to let you know that I haven't been to many stadiums really, and I'm just going off vibes as a football fan, watching the games on TV, using my knowledge of what I know about them, what I've heard about them, and just doing that to make this top 5. And that's my list, and that's how I usually make these lists. So before I start, I will say my favorite team, the Dolphins, are home, Hard Rock Stadium. It did not crack my top 5. My San Francisco Giants were on that baseball list, but if you'd like to see where on the list they were in my top 5, how about you go check out that video after this one. But without further ado, here are my top 5 best NFL stadiums for 2023. Number 5 is Allegiant Stadium, Raiders Stadium. Opened in 2020, has a capacity of 65,000 and cost $1.9 billion at the time. So, before I tell you the things I like about this place, do have to mention that Las Vegas is not a football town, at least from what we've seen so far. Could change when the Raiders are good, but let's be honest. This is a hub for fan bases to come from all around the world to go to Vegas, enjoy the gambling and all the exploits of Las Vegas, and go see their team here. No real Raider fan base. A lot of Raider fans in Oakland, a lot of Raider fans in Los Angeles. Not too many in Vegas. So I know, who knows? Maybe once they're good, they'll get fans, but we'll see. So when the A's obviously fail in Vegas if they move here, just don't be surprised. The Raiders should have made it obvious. So I will say the Golden Knights, the hockey team, they have a great loyal fan base from all that I've seen. I'm not a big hockey guy, but I am sure that the Golden Knights' big fan base is due to the franchise starting in Vegas. And that's not something the Raiders bring. That's not something the A's are going to bring. And just, I don't know. The A's are going to have no problem selling out a series against the Rockies in the middle of a 104-degree summer weekend. I'm sure of it. I mean, can you hear the sarcasm? I am very salty about this whole situation. But I'm going to save the negativity for the top 5 worst next video. I'm going to get back to talking about my favorites. Just had to get this all out of the way. Screw Las Vegas sports. So, Raiders owner, 2015, Mark Davis. He wanted to move to LA, out of Oakland. They couldn't come to an agreement on the stadium. He said, we're going to share a stadium with the Chargers. But the Rams brought their SoFi Stadium plan up, and that actually got approved by the NFL instead of the Raiders and the Chargers moving in together. So during this process, a stadium was made, and there's mock-ups, and Davis fell in love with the proposed design, and he ended up taking that design and just getting it built in Vegas. And honestly, I cannot blame him for loving this design so much. I mean, there's no other stadium in the NFL, like, dare I say, in the USA for all sports that looks like this. This thing's one of a kind in my eyes. I've heard it be compared to something out of Star Wars, and I feel like that just fits so well, like some sort of Death Star or spaceship contraption. This thing is ominous, it's big, and honestly, it's a little scary. And it's perfect for the Raiders and their fan base. I think it fits so perfectly. This stadium would not fit with any other team besides the Raiders, and I absolutely love when a stadium fits its team. They nailed the outside, which is what I would hope for any stadium built after the Cowboy Stadium, considering the NFL is one of the most profitable industries in the USA, especially in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And no owner would totally phone in their new stadium for one of the most iconic franchises ever, right? Well, the Raiders owner did not phone it in. They nailed the outside. I mean, Vegas is known for that quirky skyline. This thing fits in perfectly. I haven't even talked about the inside of this place yet. It has the ETFE plastic roof, same as SoFi in Los Angeles. This type of roof allows natural light to come in without having the heat come in. I mean, it's like a roof, but with a window, but it's not a window. And there is the big Al Davis torch. It's bigger and better than the one in Oakland. This thing is 85 feet tall, and it's apparently the largest 3D printed object in the world. When it was made, don't know if that's still the record, but this thing is huge. And for those of you who don't know what this thing's about, Al Davis was the owner of the Raiders from 1972 till his death in 2011. After he died, they brought this torch out in Oakland, and they'd light it before all the home games. And I know this because I had a friend, and he had about 10 of these t-shirts he probably bought outside the stadium, and he'd wear them all the time after Davis died. So to me, I was like, oh, wow, this guy's a big deal. And Raider fans, they love Al Davis. So I think it's pretty fucking cool that your stadium's gimmick is this giant torch honoring the owner of your team's most successful period of time as when he was the owner. So I love that. And I also found out that those windows behind the torch open up too. And that surprised me because I haven't really seen too many games here, to be honest, and haven't really seen those windows open. This is much like Marlins Stadium in MLB. The windows are rarely open there due to keeping the place cool and air conditioned. And as we know, Las Vegas gets incredibly hot. Last thing I'm going to talk about is how they have real grass that rolls into direct sunlight to avoid damage from other events like concerts or other sports being played here. And I think that's pretty cool because players want artificial turf gone. They want the real grass, and the fact that they're doing this to get real grass, I think, is just really cool. The local college, UNLV, actually shares Allegiant Stadium with the Raiders, and they prefer to play on artificial turf. So the Raiders are the only team in the NFL that can host real grass games for the Raiders and turf games for the college, UNLV. This turf is unfolded onto the concrete floor of the stadium once the grass is fully rolled out. Pretty interesting. This stadium, I mean, it had to be on the list. I think it's a modern classic. I'm excited to see the Raiders host some meaningful games here soon, hopefully. Until then, here's to hoping that Usher does something cool during the halftime show, maybe this year. That'd be cool. He's making some big claims, you know. He's saying this about to be one of the biggest shows of his life for his fans. I think he's just doing it to promote his album, which is coincidentally coming out on the same day. We'll see. I could go on a whole rant about the halftime show and how I think it should be someone who's relevant, but we can save that for another video. On to my number 4. It is the historic Lambeau Field, home of the Packers. This place opened up in 1957, can hold a huge 81,441 people. It cost $960,000 at the time, and renovations between 2003 and 2013 cost $295 million. So this thing had to be here. Lambeau is the Fenway Park of the NFL. It's one of my favorites. This was the first stadium that was specifically built for an NFL team in modern history. It's the oldest one being used in all of the NFL. This thing's just iconic. It's historic. 1957. Its capacity was originally 32,500 people, and it sold out completely almost every single game. Once Vince Lombardi took over, who the Super Bowl trophy's named after, as you know, the Lombardi Trophy, that guy, he took over as the head coach in 1959, and ticket demand just skyrocketed, and they added more than 6,000 seats in 1961 to try to give the supply to this demand. So the Packers came to be viewed as one of the truly iconic teams in the NFL, like one of the first of them. under Lombardi's tenure, the demand for the stadium would continue to increase. So, 1963, they added 3,000 more seats. And 2 years later, they said, screw it, we're just going to add 8,000 more seats. Every few years, they're just adding thousands and thousands of more seats to this place. More and more people wanted to go see the Packers. So this means within 8 years of opening, they added 18,000 more seats from opening day till 1965. Stadium could now seat 51,000 fans. So, 1965 was also the year that Earl Curly Lambeau died. This caused them to rechristen the stadium and name it in Curly Lambeau's honor. He's the founder. He's iconic in Packers lore, if you don't know. Stadium was actually called New City Stadium for its first 8 years until his death, until they changed the name, which I actually did not know until researching this. One of the things that makes the stadium iconic to me is just all the history that it carries. I learned that the iconic Ice Bowl game that the Packers won to move on to Super Bowl II, which they eventually won, almost didn't happen the way it did. I mean, this game was iconic because of how frozen it was, but I learned that in the same year of this game, 1967, the Packers installed heated coils under the stadium to try to prevent these frozen conditions, but it failed, and it led to one of the most iconic moments of all time, this game. Many iconic games and championships later, this stadium was actually fully enclosed. They added suites, they added club seats, a whole second deck, and a whole new bowl was filled, and they closed it off. So, cut to 1995, capacity is now 60,800 people. Quick side note, I loved the location of this stadium. I mean, I had to pull it up on Google Earth, and I feel like this stadium has to be the one that's closest to just like this many neighborhoods, residential housing. Just sometimes they'll cut to a sky shot during Christmas or holiday season when it's super snowy and you see all these houses with the Christmas lights, and it's like out of a dream. Like there's this NFL stadium right in the middle of these cities. It's just super cool. What a great visual. I love it. Pretty awesome. 1999, sorry, back to the stadium. Packers needed to decide, what are we doing? Are we getting a new stadium? Are we going to do a big renovation? Very similar to Fenway. And as we know now, they decided we're just going to renovate Lambeau, and that's totally the right call in my eyes. They did a $295 million modernization plan. So old stadium boxes and lettering, they were removed. They had the entire place get a facelift. They added 12,032 seats in 2003. So now the total of Lambeau Field is 72,000. That's 40,000 more than what they opened with. All these increases are not for no reason, though. Packers still to this day hold the record for most consecutive home sellouts. They've had this record since 1959, the Lambeau years. Sorry, Lombardi years. All these L names, man. 2013, those are the most recent renovations they did to the stadium. As you can see, they added this upper deck up here. That's, I don't know. Looking at it at this angle, it does kind of look like Mount Davis in Oakland, but I mean, filled up full. It looks pretty cool. And I mean, the demand's there. Like I said, this added 7,000 more seats. The current total is 81,000 people this place can hold. They added HD scoreboards and all, but let me know what you think about these seats up here. Do you like them, or do you think they should have kept that lower bowl, the classic look? They also added this atrium with statues of Lombardi and Lambeau, this cool section. This stadium, guys, it's just flat out historic, and I would love to see a game here. In fact, I want to go to a lot of these places on this list, if we're being real here. I can't believe that Green Bay can still make a stadium made in the late 50s, not only relevant, but as iconic as it is. And that's why it lands at number 4 on my list. Number 3, I have SoFi Stadium, home to the Rams, and I almost forgot to put the Chargers. This opened up in 2020 along with Allegiant. Can hold 70,240 people, and it costs $6 billion to create. And I'm going to come out and say that this one's this high on the list, probably from my own bias, but this is a top 3 stadium to me, no doubt. I say biased because my first time at the stadium was opening weekend this year, 2023, when my Dolphins won a shootout with the Chargers, much to the dismay of someone I know in Minnesota. Hmm. But my game day experience there was amazing, and I was only able to see the very top deck. We never ventured below the very top deck, the cheap seats of the stadium. That day at SoFi, it just felt like the perfect game day experience. Everything was so easy. This is what I expect from a 2020s made multi-billion dollar stadium. This thing felt so much like a sci-fi creation. It was hard to believe that I wasn't in Silicon Valley. Hmm. The only negative I'll say about SoFi is it was really hot. And the open air hybrid design with the ETFE roof that Allegiant also has, it's pretty cool. But unlike Raiders Stadium, where they can have those windows closed and air conditioning, SoFi cannot do that because it's always open all the time and it still gets pretty hot down there. So, no AC on very hot days. We were definitely cooking before the game, but that's pretty much it for the negatives. I mean, look at this place. Remember when I said that Raiders and Rams almost shared a stadium, or Raiders and Chargers? Sorry. Mark Davis, silly haircut guy from the Raiders, he did not want to share with another team. So he said, no, I want my own stadium somewhere else. The Rams owner, who was then in St. Louis, they were the St. Louis Rams, he mysteriously bought this land where this racetrack, Hollywood Park, was and currently stood. So he went a year before announcing what he bought this land for. Wouldn't tell any St. Louis media members what was going on, but he then announced about a year later that he was going to create a 70,000 person stadium for the Rams in this area. Plan was approved over a Raider and Charger shared stadium, as I said earlier, and the construction started in November of 2016. Stan Kroenke's there. Goodell was there with the shovel. They showed up for the occasion. In 2017, Chargers owner, this guy sucks. He abandoned San Diego, much like John Fisher in Oakland, and he decided to pay the over $600 million relocation fee, and he said, I'm going to call SoFi home as well. So here's to hoping that A's owner John Fisher does fail in his scheme to do the same here, because I bet that there will be just as many Las Vegas A's fans as there are currently Los Angeles Charger fans. Let's be real, guys. SoFi during Charger games play the same role that Allegiant plays right now in Las Vegas. Just a hub for people to go to Los Angeles, visit the surrounding area, and watch their favorite team play the Chargers, who have no fans except that one lady who was planted on Sunday Night Football that one time. Just kidding, but that was funny. The stadium was made 100 feet below ground exactly. They had to meet FFA requirements due to the LAX airport being so close. So this place was a trip walking into. I think my entrance was like right here, or I don't know, somewhere here. We walked up and here were our seats up here, but I just took a short trip from the stairs up here. We walked in the entrance. It didn't feel like I went up so high, and here's some actual pictures from when I first entered. These were where those stairs led me. I was at the top deck and it was super trippy, I will tell you that. This is where we sat for the game. These are the cheapest seats we could get, and it was just an awesome experience regardless. There were restrooms, food, just chargers too. It was really cheap to charge my phone, which almost died. Just everything was super convenient. It was quick. It just felt super efficient. Like I said, it was just straight out of a sci-fi book. I can imagine the closer you are to the field, the better it gets. The main gimmick of this stadium is the double-sided infinity screen. This thing weighs 2.2 million pounds, 1,000 tons, has 80 million pixels on it. It makes it so that no matter where you're sitting in the stadium, you're going to be able to see what everyone else is seeing on the scoreboard. This is literally the only scoreboard in the stadium. So, I mean, this is automatically where your eyes are going to go when there's no play on the field. This scoreboard combined with the transparent roof and the open air sides leads just, I mean, to be honest, like an iconic design. I keep saying that word over and over, but that's what my top 5 is. These stadiums are iconic to me. I feel like this design is like going to be picturesque in the next few decades. going to be a big association with the area, with the team, with the stadium. I think maybe you need to go in person to feel the sentiment that I'm saying right now, but I was in awe the entire time I was there. Just going back to some cheap Charger game next year is at the top of my list because I want to sit closer. I want to experience all the stadium has to offer. NFL even relocated its media team to a nice new building next to SoFi. Everyone wants to come here. It's super cool. This place has already hosted a Super Bowl, which was the first Super Bowl where the team whose stadium it is won the Super Bowl, the Rams. What a great legacy it already has. It's going to host another Super Bowl in 2027. Maybe the Rams will have a draft pick by then. It had WrestleMania. It's had huge concerts. It's also going to host the 2028 Olympics, along with the other handful of LA stadiums. Angels and Dodger Stadium is going to host softball and baseball. I think the Coliseum and the Rose Bowl are going to host flag football for men and women. It's going to be pretty great. It's going to be a pretty great Olympics for us silly Americans to host here in our LA stadiums, man. At only 3 years old, I think SoFi is already iconic to me, and that's why it is my number 3. Number 2 is Ford Field in Detroit for the Lions. This opened in 2002, can hold 65,000, and it cost $500 million to make. I love this stadium so much. It feels enclosed like a classic dome stadium of the past, but it has natural light coming in from the top. This combined with some unique architecture throughout the inside and the outside, I mean, this is top tier for me. This might be an unpopular one, considering some stadiums that I'm going to be leaving off this list entirely, like Cowboy Stadium, Atlanta's new stadium. But you know what? That's why this is my list. This stadium has always given me the vibe of just like a fantastic place to watch a football game, you know? This place had some big shoes to fill from the start, though. The Lions have been around since the 1930s, and they once even played at one of my favorites, Tiger Stadium, baby. That's right. I'm back to sports videos. You know we got to reference Tiger Stadium whenever we can. But 1975 till 2001, the Lions played here in the iconic Silver Dome in Detroit. This place was great, and it's actually still standing today in a really sad and decrepit state. There's tons of great YouTube videos and articles out there if you want to take a closer look at that. Word is Amazon's going to develop this site, but only time will tell if that'll actually happen. Ford Field kept a dome like the Silver Dome, but they added that natural light that I was talking about before. This stadium was also built below ground level, 45 feet below ground level to be exact. The reason they wanted to dig it down is because they didn't want it to take over the Detroit skyline, and I respect this decision. I feel stadiums and skylines have a special relationship with each other. If it's not being seen from the stadium, I feel like it can't be an ugly eyesore, so the fact that they respect that gives points for me. Thinking about the natural light and the dome hybrid as well, and then the fact that this thing's dug down, it's almost like Ford Field walked so SoFi could run. A lot of these things are similar. Who knows? Oh my gosh, it's my list. It's making sense. For having a big bulky dome, though, I think they did a pretty great job making it presentable from the outside. I mean, think about it. This was made in 2002. We were getting things like this, State Farm Stadium in 2006. I mean, we get things like Marlins Park still in 2012. Pretty gross. So the fact that they made it pretty great from the outside is awesome. That brick atrium has aged super well over the last 20 years. These little open air sections on the inside, they're on either side of the suites. They give a great open air view through the windows, as well as they frame those suites that give some great asymmetry to the stadium. If you look right there in the middle, there's that open air section here, and right here you can see these windows along with the open natural light up here. That's just what puts it over the top to me. The stadium is simple, but it's effective. It's endured through the ages. When many stadiums have come and gone, I think this one's here to stay. The other side of the stadium, it looks a little stuck in its past, but I think that adds to the charm, if I'm being honest. You know, I love the fact that the only work done to the stadium since 2002 was just a $100 million renovation they did in 2017. They added more seats, they added suites, they added new scoreboards, new restaurants, but they haven't really made any major changes, and I don't think they've had to. I would honestly, seriously love to visit this stadium soon. So, yeah, that's Ford Field. I think it's great. I think it's cozy. I love how enclosed it feels. You're part of the game. I've always seen Lion fans during games just going crazy here. Awesome place to catch a game. So, this is two. Before I go to number one, there's one stadium that just missed my list, but I had to talk about it before. So, we have one honorable mention, and that is Lumen Field, home of the Seattle Seahawks. This also opened in 2002. Can hold up to 68,000 people, and it cost $430 million at the time. This design's very unique, and I had to give it respect on this list. The fact you can see the skyline combined with this truly odd section below the scoreboard, I mean, that makes it a great stadium alone. What a great quirk. It's instantly identifiable. You show this picture, everyone knows this is Seattle instantly. This is one of the loudest places in the NFL. They have that stadium design that helps, keeps the sound in. That combined with its location, it's all around just a really cool stadium. To be honest, though, besides the skyline, that scoreboard section, and the crowd, stadium is a bit dated, I will admit. The roof is a miss for me. I know it keeps the sound in, but kind of like Hard Rock Stadium, just like the weird random designs on the roof. I don't like it. It's not my thing. It's kind of boring. Along with the roof, and also boring, is the rest of the field. We have this section I was talking about over here. Everything else is pretty basic. And yeah, I mean, when you have a cool skyline like that and that uniqueness I was talking about, you don't really need anything else. But I don't know. Didn't put it on my top 5. But hey, maybe this is where SoFi got the idea to have one scoreboard that everyone needs to look at. At the end of the day, I bet this place is just still unreal to watch a game at. But couldn't crack the top 5. Still wanted to mention it. Now on to number 1. I have US Bank Stadium, home of the Minnesota Vikings. This place opened up in 2016, can hold 66,860 people, and it cost $1.061 billion to make. This combines what I love about Ford Field and SoFi into one amazing stadium. It has the super modern capitalist America over-the-top design I expect out of every new stadium in this day and age, especially the last 15 years. I mean, if we're going to live in a world where these billionaire owners control every aspect of what happens, the least they could do is theme the Viking Stadium after a frickin' longboat. The inside is also very simple, similar to Ford Field. It adds to that feeling that nothing matters besides this game that's happening below. It has the ETFE roof as well, just like SoFi, just like Allegiant. This is awesome. I keep saying it, natural light. It's so good for a stadium. I think it adds great. It's not like the Superdome in New Orleans where there's no light coming in. It's gross. It's dark. It's dated. This is none of those things. It's pretty awesome. They have heated panels on the roof as well here. It melts the snow. It keeps the roof from getting impacted like their previous home, the Metrodome. What an upgrade. They went from the Metrodome to US Bank Stadium. Wow. I haven't even mentioned the fact that this place technically can open up. It has the world's largest pivoting doors. These things stand in at up to 95 feet tall. They originally wanted the entire stadium to be open air, retractable roof, or something along those lines, but they deemed it was going to be too expensive because it gets super cold there, and they would have had to make everything on the inside cold proof. They would have had to spend a ton of extra money, and they said, we cannot do that, but they still wanted air to get in the stadium. So they have these rotatable doors, really cool technology. First time they did it, Vikings, 90 minutes before kickoff, they have to decide, are these doors going to be open or not? I'm going to be keeping an eye out if they're open from now on watching games here, because I think that's just a great quirk. This stadium also has the Galler horn. This thing's blown before games. This is just like the Al Davis torch. Cool tradition. This combined with the longboat, the shape of the stadium, it just has the perfect amount of theming. You know, I love to see this theming from teams when making a new stadium. Love when it represents a team, like I said about the Raiders. This place is undoubtedly the best home for the Vikings. If you showed all NFL stadiums to a non-fan and asked whose stadium was the Vikings, I bet 100% of the people would say US Bank Stadium. This is their home. I feel like I don't know what else I need to say. This place seems cozy to see a game at. It seems intense. It seems epic, awe-inspiring. Just not much more to say. I think it speaks for itself. You either agree with me or you don't. This place is unique, classy, state-of-the-art, iconic, and it's going to be remembered as one of the greatest NFL stadiums of all time. And that's my list. US Bank Stadium is the best one around in 2023. Please let me know what you thought of this video in the comments below. I do respond to every single comment. I love to hear from my community. I cannot believe since my last video a week ago, I have gained 13 subscribers. I want to thank everyone who took the time to watch one of my videos, and thank you for wanting to show your support and see more by subscribing. If you enjoyed this video and you are not subscribed, please consider doing so and comment if you agree with my list or not. I'm real excited for my top 5 worst stadium video that'll be coming out next. You guys loved my top 5 worst baseball stadiums, and I plan to keep the same energy for this one. Until then, this is Sean, and that was my top 5.